What's going on, YouTube? So it's Infiniti's 30th anniversary, and to celebrate they are releasing a special range of vehicles, all of which culminate in this flagship 2020 QX80 Edition 30. But beyond the special edition, the entire QX80 lineup is getting a big interior upgrade, which is why we definitely wanted to check one out today at Infiniti of Lexington. Of course, if you're in the market for any new Infiniti, we encourage you to stop by their dealership or visit them via their website, which we provided a link to in the video description. So with that all said, let's check out this updated beast. So as always, we will kick things off here with the exterior styling, which does have some differences for the 2020 Edition 30. The main difference, and definitely what's most noticeable, is the grille having a special dark chrome finish and black mesh, which makes it stand out more than any of the other trim levels. Turning to the headlights, they remain the same throughout the QX80 lineup, as very sleek, full LED units. And then below that, you also have LED fog lights and a special smoked chrome accent. As far as the rest of the design, again you're looking at mostly the same design as last year, but with darkened chrome elements for this Edition 30. The taillights are of course fully LED, and the turn signal continues to be separated on the bumper. Finally, there is a hidden exhaust outlet and a full-size spare tire. So overall, this QX80 is still one of the best looking SUVs in the class, and these Edition 30 upgrades simply make it stand out even more. Now pricing comes at the end of the video, but I think it's important to go ahead and mention that the Edition 30 is one of the more affordable QX80s you can get. That's pertinent because it comes with goodies like these massive 22-inch alloys, which have a special dark finish to make them look very similar to the $92,000 limited trims. Moving up to the mirrors, they come loaded with all the goodies, and for the Edition 30, they are also painted black. And as far as safety systems are concerned, the majority of them are included on every single QX80. They will all get automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, blind spot monitoring, and auto high beam headlights, while the Pro Assist package adds in your lane departure assist and adaptive cruise control. And the last thing I want to mention on the outside is the tow rating of 8,500 pounds, which does exceed the equivalent four-wheel drive Navigator. But anyways, that is it for the outside. So now let's get to the important upgrades inside the cabin. So walking up to the QX80, of course, as you'd expect from the flagship SUV, you do have standard smart entry. Now I am noticing we've got the older style key fob, not the updated version from the QX60. However, we do still have standard remote start. Now to get inside the vehicle itself, there is not a sensor behind the handle, so you're just going to press the button to unlock. Alright, so taking a look inside this updated 2020 QX80, as you can see, the interior changes are pretty significant, but we'll get into that as we go through the review. But first, as always, I'm going to go through your interior color and material schemes. So standard on every QX80 is real leather, and you have graphite and wheat color options with burl wood trim. That's what this Edition 30 has, and that is all that you can get because the optional semi-aniline leather, that is reserved for the sensory package or the limited models, and that comes in a few different colors: wheat, saddle brown, or graphite. And then the stone and charcoal combination that we showed you guys last year in the limited model. But regardless of what trim you choose, you're going to have a very nicely appointed door trim. So you have leather covering pretty much every aspect of it, all the way to the top. I am also impressed to find soft touch plastics even down here on the extreme lower areas. As far as up here, you do have 2-person memory seating, and all 4 of your windows are one-touch automatic. Checking out the seat here, it is 8-way power adjusting with 2-way lumbar support. And then you do also have real leather, like I already said. Feels very nice and supple even on the real leather. And then the semi-alloy leather is definitely a further upgrade. As far as some of your Edition 30 touches, you do have exclusive scuff plates right here. And then all models have the integrated running boards, which are very nice and wide. So getting in is super easy, as well as having the driver's side assist grip. Now the QX80 has always had very nice interior materials, and they have not changed with this 2020 interior refresh. So across your upper dash here, you continue to have a soft touch plastic with the double stitching detail. And then dropping down to your lower areas, you have your wood trim. And then all through here, you have this nice leather material. Goes all the way down to the bottom. Has lots and lots of stitching. And then you've got even more leather that runs around this area. And then even goes up through here. And of course, as you can see, everything in here fits together very nicely. Very minimal panel gaps. And everything is very solid. Now to start up the QX80, you do a push button start. And this is where you'll right away notice one of the really nice 2020 updates, and that is a brand new gauge cluster. Basically, we've gone to a more modern looking cluster here. As you can see, it is a 7-inch display. And it's very nice and vivid and colorful and contains a lot of different types of information. Now coming back to the steering wheel itself, we continue to have the old school hydraulic power steering. And then you've got the latest QX80 design steering wheel where it is leather wrapped on the inside as well as on the back, but you do have this thin ring of wood which matches with the rest of the interior, and that circles around the entire thing. As far as on other models that the Sensory or the Limited package, you would have a leather covered airbag cover. As far as the steering wheel itself, we do have steering wheel heating, and across all the models it is going to be power adjusting. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about storage, which, as you would expect for such a large SUV, you do have plenty of it. So we'll start out here under our center console. As you can tell, this is quite deep, very wide, and you have a really nice felt lining inside of it. Up in front of that, you can press here and raise this wood piece up, and you'll find your 2 cup holders as well as another little storage area right here. And then up in front of that, we have another little storage slot. It actually is quite deep, so you can slide your whole entire phone inside of there, so it is bigger than it was last year. And then you have your 12-volt outlet, and you have a USB and a new USB Type-C for 2020. Now, as far as some other new 2020 updates, they have given the QX80 the Infiniti shifter. So as you can see, it's just traditional, so you pull back for drive. You can bump over here to the left to shift manually, but you're not going to find any paddle shifters on the QX80. Now when we go into reverse here on the Edition 30, Infiniti's round view monitor does pop up. So you have both your regular view and your 360 view, and you will also find active trajectory, front and rear parking sensors, and moving object detection. Now there are some other views you can change between, like your curbside view so you don't scrape. And then both of the mirrors do point downward in reverse to help you see the parking lines better. Now back behind the shifter, you will find a button that you already had. This was your 4-wheel drive controls. So as you can see, you have your 4 low, 4 high, and automatic. You have tow mode, snow mode, and traction control. But then in front of that, you'll find something new this year. This is your InTouch controller. This goes along with the updated infotainment, which I'm getting ready to get into, but it does give you an extra option besides touch. But this right here, this is the big story for 2020. Basically, this entire center panel in the QX80 has been totally replaced with a brand new setup. Obviously, all this stuff in here, like I said, is new, so we'll just kind of go point by point through all of this updated material. What I'm going to do is start with the audio system. So standard on the QX80 is the 13-speaker Bose sound system. However, new for 2020, you now have the option for the 17-speaker Bose Performance series with the metal speaker grills, but that does not come on the Edition 30. You have to get a higher-end model to get that. Let's go ahead and sample this standard Bose sound system. Overall sound quality of this system is fantastic, so I wouldn't worry about getting that Performance series unless you just really love metal speaker grills like I do. Okay, so now we are here at our lower display. This is a 7-inch display. The top one is an 8-inch display. So you basically have a separation of different controls between the two. Now, as far as climate control, just like in the QX50 and Q50, your climate controls are now located down along the side of this display. So it is very simple to use. You have physical controls for almost everything, including your fan speeds and zones. However, just a couple extra features can be located by clicking that climate button, so you can do things like adjust the rear climate. Additionally, all the models are going to come standard with 3-stage seat heating. However, the Edition 30 cannot have seat ventilation. That's going to require the Sensory package or the limited model. Okay, so let's go ahead and start digging into the display settings here. Now this is a 7-inch display on the bottom and an 8-inch display on the top. Like you've had in the Q50 for several years now, but this is updated for 2020. So you now have the latest next generation Infiniti InTouch software, which is said to be a lot faster and a lot smoother. And just messing around with it, I can definitely say that is the case. You can see jumping into these different things, no lag at all, no hesitation, and it definitely feels a lot more fast and a lot more fluid than that previous generation system. Now, the QX80 never even had that system at all. It had the older style with just one display at the top, so having 2 displays is definitely a big improvement. Now, as far as the actual feature set, navigation is standard equipment on this QX80, and that's what this top display is almost exclusively used for. It is the latest Infiniti navigation system, and it is extremely responsive. The other big news this year is that finally Infiniti has brought over Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's been a long time coming, but it's finally on board with this next generation system. Now I have unfortunately displaced my wire, or I would plug this in and show it to you right now. But you will just have to believe me that you do have your extra phone connections, and it does run Apple CarPlay and Android Auto now. Now moving on up here, one of the things that's included with the Edition 30 is your smart mirror. So this just takes the live camera feed from the back and cuts out all the obstructions. Definitely gives you a good view. And then turning up here to our moonroof. This, of course, is standard equipment on every QX80. It is just the regular size unit. There is not a panoramic one available at this time. But anyways, guys, that is going to sum up all the big changes to the cabin of this QX80. So now I'll go ahead and hand it off to my brother Mason, who will see what's changed in the back areas.
So checking out this QX80's rear door trim, it is going to be very nicely appointed, as you would expect from Infiniti's flagship SUV. So it is leather all the way through here, even on your armrest portion. You have your power window, as well as your bottle storage. And turning over to the seats, you will notice that we do have the captain's chairs on this model. That's one of the unique features about the QX80, is that it has this captain chair setup with the center console. So now let's go ahead and get in and see what it's like. Now here in the center area, you do have pretty much the same features across all of the QX80 lineup. So you will have tri-zone climate control that you can adjust back here. So you have your fan speeds and automatic function, as well as your temperature. And then down below that, you will have a smart charging USB port for each side, which is a nice touch. And even further below that, on the floor, you have a 12-volt power outlet. Now I do want to point out that this Edition 30 model is missing out on the heated rear seats. That is included in the sensory package or on the limited trim, but this Edition 30 cannot have that, so that's something worth noting. And here in the middle, this is one of my favorite features about the QX80, is the center console area. It really sets it apart from a lot of its rivals like the Escalade and stuff like that, because this is standard equipment across all of the models. So here, as far as the storage is concerned, you do have a gigantic bin here. As you can see, it goes down, I would say, at least a foot, if not a foot and a half. It's felt lined. Then in front of that, we do have some wood trim covering the cup holders. And even cooler than that is this little pop-out area here. You can barely even see it, but it houses like a ton of storage space. You can stick pretty much anything you want back here. It's really quite large, and a really nice thing to have for all the rear passengers to enjoy. And up top, here are where you will find your rear vents, as well as your lighting and an assist grip. Now another thing that we are missing out on in this Edition 30 is the theater package. That's a $2,450 option, and you have screens on the back of each headrest if you still want to go for that. But as far as the actual legroom itself is concerned, the QX80 comes in at the top of its class, has 40 inches of rear legroom and 41 inches of rear headroom, which, like I mentioned, is above most in the class. And that shows behind Drew's position. I have about, I would say, probably 10 inches of rear legroom, and my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat. As you can see, it can basically stretch out. So I'm definitely going to be very comfortable back here, and all of your family members will be as well. Now to get into the third row, Infiniti has made it pretty easy. So all you have to do is locate this little lever, and it does fold up and out of the way in a pretty fluid motion. And looking back here, you will find 28.8 inches of rear legroom and 37 inches of rear headroom, which is pretty standard for the class. So now let's go ahead and get back there and see what it's like. So sitting back here for the first time, my impression is actually it's pretty decent. The legroom is what I'm most impressed with, since I have about 2 inches of rear legroom. However, the thigh support is a little bit lacking. As you can see, the seat cushion is not really on my thigh at all. However, that is pretty expected for this body-on-frame SUV class of vehicle. And one of the things that I want to point out here is that you have the ability to recline the third row seat here, which is really quite a neat feature. I've only seen a few cars that have this. I think the Lincoln Navigator has the power reclining third row, but that's a very nice feature to have on an Edition 30 model. And you do also have rear vents, an assist grip, and cup holders on the sides. Now heading around to the tailgate, it is power across all the QX80 lineup. However, it is not foot activated on any of them. And once inside the QX80's cargo area, you are going to find another class competitive amount of space. So you're going to find 17 cubic feet of space behind the third row. That expands to 50 cubic feet if you go to the second row seats. And if you fold all of them, you're going to have 95 cubic feet of space. Now that is very competitive with the class as in terms of the standard wheelbase versions of the Escalade and Navigator. However, it is worth noting that the QX80 cannot have a long wheelbase like those models can, so you are going to have a little bit less space than the long wheelbase versions of those models. But Infiniti has finished it nicely, so you do have a 12-volt outlet. And underneath of the floor here, let's try and get it up. You do have a tiny amount of space up under there. And I do also want to point out that you do have a power folding third row, which is a really nice feature. Just push these buttons. Could be a little bit faster, but it is nice that Infiniti has thrown this in, especially on the Edition 30, which is the cheaper model. And there you go. Now coming over to the passenger seat, it is 8-way power adjusting. And in front of the passenger you do have a good sized glove box. It opens quite wide, however it is not felt lined, surprisingly. And up top we do have a sun visor with a light and mirror, and it does also detach as well as have an extension in the end. Well guys, that sums up all of the rear areas of this QX80 Edition 30. So now let's go ahead and get out on the road and see how it compares to its biggest rivals like the Escalade and Navigator.
Alright, so here we are in the 2020 QX80. Just right off the bat, I just want to say this big gal can scoot here. As in previous years, you know, it's big, but it really gets up to speed quite nicely because it also is accompanied by the big 5.6 liter V8 engine. You know, naturally aspirated, so you don't have to wait for any turbos or anything to spool up. And you have a 400 horsepower, so certainly very nice horsepower figure.
Yeah, it is quite remarkable. It's almost a little bit shocking, you know, when you push the throttle down. You know, you don't expect something like this. It's like a whale. It's gigantic, and you don't expect it to go that fast. But this engine does a really good job paired with this car.
What they say, there's no replacement for displacement. There's certainly no replacement for that sound. No turbocharged engine ever sounds even halfway that good. Yep.
I mean, that is really what people who buy this class of vehicle are looking for. They're looking for that big, throaty V8 burble. And I can guarantee you that you're going to get that here in this QX80.
I also just want to say visibility in here is fantastic. I mean, of course, you have really large windows, and you set in up in a very commanding, you know, perspective. But also the mirrors are really large, for instance. And then we also have this smart mirror here, so it's just a display camera feed, so it cuts out all of the obstructions of anything behind you. So really you have really no blind spots. You just kind of can see just about everything about this vehicle, and that's very helpful because, I mean, it's big.
Yeah.
So you need to, you know, feel confident in maneuvering it.
You know, one thing that I do want to touch on here, you know, this QX80 is built for just ultimate comfort for you and the second row and the third row, and it really does a fantastic job. You know, we're about to hit a bump here, and this is going to be, you know, exactly, you know, you hit it and you really can barely feel much of anything. It really just absorbs it well, and it's very quiet and comfortable in here.
The suspension is certainly on the soft side. That's what you want in a vehicle like this, so it's very comfortable. Now, as far as like handling, of course, there's going to be body roll and stuff, but that's the trade-off that you have when you go for something with comfort as the main driving priority.
And this one's main rivals are going to be like the Escalade. The Escalade drives very similar to this. If you want a sporty luxury 3-row, go X7 or something like that. But, you know.
Now, one thing I do want to note about the body roll is that the hydraulic body motion control system, that is in the Proactive package. So one thing to keep in mind is that you're not going to get that package if you go for this Edition 30. You're, just the way the packages are configured, Edition 30 locks you into a certain ones and nothing else. So if you want to have that package, you're going to have to either get your regular QX80 with stack those equipment options on it, or go for the top end limited. Now, as far as your transmission, we have the carryover transmission from last year. It is a 7-speed automatic transmission. It does continue to shift smoothly like it always has. No paddle shifters or anything like that, of course.
Now, the last thing that I do want to talk about here is, you know, you hear that growling big V8 engine. Of course, this is not going to get great fuel economy, as you probably would suspect. So for the 2-wheel drive version, it's rated at 14 city, 20 highway, 16 combined. And then for the model that we have here, which is the 4-wheel drive version, that's going to be even further reduced to 13 city, 19 highway, 15 combined. Which, you know, it goes without saying that's not great fuel economy, but, you know, it's pretty much expected for this type of vehicle. You're not going to get great fuel economy with that big giant engine, so that is your trade-off here.
So overall, of course, as you know, there's quite a number of things that have been updated this year, and the Edition 30 is, of course, a new package. But as far as your driving characteristics, things keep with the same very comfort-oriented, old-school type of feel that owners have been enjoying for many years. You know, that's honestly in this class, most of the vehicles feel pretty much exactly like this, because that's what is expected, and that's what makes this class different than, say, other types of 3-row car-based crossovers, is that extra capability, that extra comfort, the ruggedness, and that old school feel. And those are things that the QX80 continues to nail.
Alrighty, now let's go ahead and talk about the pricing for the 2020 QX80. So with this model, you only have really 2 trims you can pick from. You have the Luxe, which is what we have here. That's going to start at $66,750, or you have the fully loaded limited 4-wheel drive for $91,450. And that is worth noting that's about a $1,700 price increase over 2019. Now, since we do also have optional 4-wheel drive, our starting price is $69,850. We do have the new for 2020 Edition 30 package. That's a $3,500 package, as well as premium paint for $595. And then you just add in the destination charge of $1395, and you come to this one's tested price of $75,340. which I am super impressed with the price point of this Edition 30 model. You really are getting fantastic styling. It looks almost exactly like the Limited, and you're really not sacrificing much in this cabin, all for a $75,000 price point, as opposed to like $92,000, $93,000. Well guys, we hope you enjoyed watching the first in-depth look at the 2020 Infiniti QX80 Edition 30. We really appreciate you watching, and be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons if you enjoyed, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.